Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction author and eclectic reader, and you are on Booktube. So, welcome everybody. Happy Friday morning for me. Tyann was here. Hello. Cat Paw is here with the little paws. Julie is here, feeling great, which is awesome. I am also feeling great because no ants, no pee, no smoke, no heat. It's a normal, beautiful morning. So we're gonna be grateful for that because that's not too normal these days. Bean is sleeping on his cat tree. The plastic is down on the rug just in case because it makes me feel less anxious. So yes, we're rolling. I had a lot of good reading time last night, although it made me I find that I turn my neck to the left, and I'm not sure why I do that, but I'm trying to compensate by turning to the right when I read because it was giving me a neck crick the past couple days. So don't want to have that. What we're doing today is a Commonplace Journal repeat, another little excerpt here. So I shared a couple pages last week, and I'm going to go to the next couple pages, which I just did this morning to catch up. And you see a refrigerator there. I had a refrigerator sticker. Can you believe that? And it's actually very on point. When I read one of my tabs and it was like refrigerants, I have a refrigerator sticker. Perfect. I was pretty happy about that. So I will be decorating this more. This is all I had in the time I had to spare this morning. So latest reads. So we're going to go over current reads with excerpts because I've only finished 2, and I'm going to wait till Wednesday to do the wrap up. But these are ones that I'm going through and I'm tabbing up. So this is one I finished that had a few, so I'll share a couple there. This is one that had a lot, and I'm not going through all of those, but there are a fair few. This one also has a lot, but I'm only going up to like page 50 in there. And then there was one in the only fiction read that I thought I would share because it pertains to a comment Mike from Riff Raff Reads has made. So hopefully those will be fun, and we'll jump in to some current reads. So I'll just put that up. Why not? It's pertinent. Also, just a reminder of what this means. The thermometer behind me is my goal to sell as many books through Draft to Digital, which is a lot of different platforms. It's sort of like a clearinghouse. It sends it out to lots of different places. They've instituted maintenance fees. So if you can find someone to gift a paperback to or buy an ebook that you don't have by me yet, that would be much appreciated. My anniversary for Draft to Digital is November. So I've got till November to make $80 through them and not pay the fee. So that's my little campaign going with the thermometer, and I check it every day and inch it up if I can. It's going very slowly. That's okay. All right, so current reads. The first one is going to be Drawdown. No, the first one is going to be 21 Things. So I highlighted this book on July 1st's stream because it was Canada Day and I was highlighting Indigenous reads. So what I have for here is, it sort of touches on cancel culture, but in a good way. It's by Bob Joseph, this book, and the person who he's highlighted in many different quotes is named Duncan Campbell Scott. Now, can you think of a more Scottish name? I really couldn't. He's a sort of giant in Canadian history, but unfortunately, he's been lauded as a Confederate poet while not taking into account his terrible role as the administrator of Indian residential schools and also just sort of the deputy minister for Indian affairs. He was in that department for over 50 years and did a lot of damage because of his attitude. And this is the quote that I'm going to highlight that I put in my Commonplace Journal. He was writing to someone else in a letter, and so Duncan Campbell Scott wrote, It has always been clear to me that the Indians must have some sort of recreation, and if our agents would endeavor to substitute reasonable amusements for this senseless drumming and dancing, it would be a great assistance. So, yeah, I looked up Duncan Campbell Scott because I thought, does he have descendants? Because that would be really embarrassing. And as a mercy, he does not have descendants. He married twice and had no children. And the only thing I found was in 2023, the University of Toronto, they had like a student or admin board, and the board rescinded the degree they had given to Duncan Campbell Scott like 100 years earlier. So it's not a statue coming down, but it is an honorary degree being revoked after due examination of his contributions. And then this morning when I looked it up again, I saw that there were some plaques that had been changed. So there's a cemetery in Ottawa, National Cemetery called Beechwood Cemetery. And again, the legacy is being rewritten. And so people are redoing some of the commemorative plaques. And it's still pretty neutral. It's not at all incendiary language, but I'm glad some things are being renegotiated so that there's not this constant reminder that Canada at large holds up this figure as a good person when he's been exposed as really a terrible person. So that was good. That was good to look into. And then the other quote I was going to share was the pass system. So 21 things you may not know about the Indian Act basically examines the Indian Act in 1876 and gives us all different amendments and clauses to the act, and when they were reigning, when they were in like instituted and effective, I guess. And this one about the pass system was from 1885 to 1951. It was not legislated, but it was a policy created in 1885 and abandoned in 1951, which is interesting. So the quote that I took was about the pass system. In order to obtain a permit to pass, Indians, and I use the word Indians because the author does, because it's historical language and it's not appropriate anymore, but he's trying to be consistent. So yeah, that's why I'm using it. Indians would occasionally have to travel many days by foot to the Indian agent's house, not knowing if he would be there when they arrived, because they had to get a permit. They had to get it from this guy. He didn't come around regularly. He didn't live near the reserves. If the agent was away, they would either have to camp and wait or return home. The pass system was also a means of maintaining a separation between Indians and the European farmers, which seems illogical considering the government's goal of assimilation. It's hard to achieve assimilation if the target population is isolated on reserves. Okay, now here's the fun part that relates to TikTok. So this is a book by a First Nations Indigenous writer in Canada. He wrote it in 2018. And I watched a TikTok from someone a couple days ago. The TikToker is named Tyler of the Rains, and he had a video from June 23rd. It had an update, which was an addition, which is what I just saw. So I went back to see the original. And the original was about administrative burden. And it's basically all the bullshit that you have to go through in life, right? So rich people hire other people to do the bullshit, the paperwork, the verifications, all that stuff that is just a pain in the ass. And poor people cannot. And so Tyler of the Rains' proposition was, there's lots of enshittification talks, but no one is talking about the administrative burden, the administratification, if you will. And it's just like punishing people who are trying to access benefits, and punishing people who are trying to start businesses, and punishing people who don't have the money to hire others to do these jobs. And I thought, this is exactly what this is. Making people carry permits to leave the reserves is it's an administrative burden. You have to walk, because there's no other way, to the agent's house, who is the figure of authority over your life. You have to apply to get a pass. They have the power to decide yes or no. And basically, like, this takes days of your life just to be able to transact business or visit a friend or, do a care task. So this thing that is historical in 1885 to 1951 is still a tactic being used, a tool being used that widens the gulf of inequality in our modern society. Tyler of the Rains was highlighting that for him, he's doing a lot of things for his mother, who is in a marginalized population. She's disabled. She has chronic pain. She's living in a mobile home. And all these things that would grant her a little bit of reprieve for her health, for her medical costs, for her rent, for her transport costs, any of these things. He has to jump through like 97 hoops in order to access, even though like she's due these things. And so because she can't do them, her son is doing them to try to help her. And like, it's just a bunch of bullshit, basically. So just reflecting on how those are similar tactics enacted by the government to keep people down, basically. So yeah, the oppression keeps oppressing is my point here, but a really good point that he brings up. Let's see. Tiana's back. Did your meter go up too? The one behind you? No, it did not since the last stream. I'm trying to like highlight the 75% off discounts once a week. I do 2 streams a week, Wednesday and Friday. And one of the days I'm just reminding myself to pop it up there and point it out to people in case they're in a position to spend a few bucks on an ebook, you know? Jim is here. Hello, Jim. Diane says, Thrift Books Baltimore has memories hostage used for 1761 via Amazon. Well, this is why we're not using Amazon, right? Because that's the black market and that money doesn't go to me. That money definitely goes to Amazon. Cat Paw says, no descendants. Grateful for small mercies. That's what I said. I'm like, it would be awful for them. You know, there's some people who have actually made headlines in modern times for sort of trying to make up for their ancestors' sins. There's one gal who is paying from her vast accumulated British Empire wealth to some like descendants of former slaves in the Caribbean. I can't remember. It's just sort of a vague memory, but she's one, and there's maybe a handful, you know, that I've ever heard of. But yeah, if someone was a descendant of Duncan Campbell Scott, and it's only like 100 years ago, so they would be like 2 or 3 generations away. That would have been pretty awful to learn about. Yeah, Catpaw says, I don't know about y'all, but when I'm doing a lot of edits and rewrites, I have little to no brain to focus on reading after. Yeah, I toss and turn with that one. That's an up and down. Sometimes I need to escape and erase, and so my brain goes to easy reading like fantasy or romance, but sometimes that is not the case, and you're just done. You just need some sugar, I would say. Dan says, I found reading hard in the last years, but I'm intentionally trying to get back to it, cataloging the library, more so when the kid returns to school. Yeah, like the time sort of shifts. That's true. Catpaw says, let's pretend Indians is short for indigenous right now. Yeah. I mean, it's in the act, it's in the historical language, so he just sort of made a choice to be consistent so people would understand. But for sure, we say indigenous. And in Canada, there's that interesting convention where it's, I think, First Nations, Métis, and indigenous, because there's different groups, like legal status things, which is kind of awkward, but, you know, that's how they've sorted it, which is fine. Okay, so that's 21 things. That's the first current read. Then we have Drawdown. Drawdown. So this is the big book I was just talking about for the climate stream on Wednesday. There's a 80 something, 80 odd. I thought I saw 90, but maybe not. There's 80 odd things that we can do as humanity to draw down our carbon budget. That's what this book is about. It took hundreds of scientists, all these policy, you know, people calculating to think what is the thing we can do that has the most impact. And basically it's like the top 80 some odd things you can do, right? And they put them into categories, and I've been reading through it. I'm finally to the last section, which is coming attractions, which did not get calculated because they're too new or too weird to calculate yet, but I'm almost to the end here. So I had some good quotes that I put in the Commonplace Journal. So let's see, Drawdown from 2017. All right, page 85 on net zero buildings. since I have it right here, I'll read from the book instead of the Commonplace. Net zero buildings. I'm pretty sure you guys who I know in the chat know what that means. Net zero is meaning that the carbon that you expend, right? So your building operations, from building the building to heating and cooling to materials, off-gassing, whatever, what have you, is net negative or net zero, right? So you're not putting more carbon in the air, making things worse. So that's a good thing. And so it's building science, it's construction stuff. And this one piece is talking about a new sort of showpiece building called the Innovation Center at the Rocky Mountain Institute, which is a nonprofit in Colorado. And here's the cool thing. I had never seen it chopped up like this. To save heating and air conditioning energy, the center focused on heating and cooling people, not the space. They address the six factors that affect human comfort, which are air temperature, wind speed, humidity, clothing level, activity level, and the temperature of surrounding surfaces. By zeroing in on these factors, the center has a broader range of comfortable air temperature from 67 to 82, compared to the conventional commercial building range of 70 to 76. This cut energy use by 50%, eliminated the air conditioning system, and requires a small heating system only on the coldest days. 50%. So that cuts costs as well as carbon. So why wouldn't everybody do that? But this is just a really good illustration of my old friend Johann Galtung. I was actually just looking for something in the archives of my college paperwork, and I came across the workshop that Johann Galtung put on at Santa Clara when I was there that like so impressed me. And I've talked about it before, but in case you don't remember, the idea of negotiating in a way that is not win-lose, but is win-win, right? So instead of two people who are fighting over an orange, and there's really only one orange, so there's like really not a possibility of winning for both, they get to, what do you actually want the orange for? What are the needs? Well, I want orange juice and I want orange zest. So one wanted the peel and one wanted the inside. So there's really like a win-win solution if you drill down to what people actually want about the thing. And so this is like a revolutionary approach to international negotiations that I was really impressed by 20 plus years ago. And it stuck with me. And so this is exactly what they're doing with building energy usage. They're saying, well, you don't need to cool the air to a constant temperature because it's kind of like always moving and changing. It's really the people we're worried about. So what actually affects people's comfort? Well, okay, air temperature is part of it, also humidity, also surrounding surfaces. And so you drill down to the actual factors. And I was like, that's brilliant. And I'm glad I know that. That's so interesting. And it cut energy use 50%. So I just thought that was really cool. Thought I'd highlight what it made me think of, because I put that down in my Commonplace Journal. Let's see. Before our next quote, Diane says, I'm only at 286 books entered, which may be the same place I was last time with the library. Keep going. Keep going. You could do it. Are the videos helping? Is filming yourself and putting out there and like getting interactions on TikTok helping? If so, continue that. If not, throw that out and see if some other reward system or like routine will help. I've only worked 3 sessions so far. That's a lot. Those are long sessions then. Drawdown. It's a door stopper. It's not that thick. It's just big. You know, it's like a big picture book because they have lots of photos and stuff. All right. Drawdown. The next one is on 98 on thermostats. Okay, so this is one that wasn't actually in the text, but I came up with myself. So buildings and cities, they're talking about what smart thermostats can do. Originating in North America and migrating to Europe, smart thermostats occupy a mere fraction of the addressable market at present. Realizing their room for growth hinges on one key factor: cost. No, it doesn't. It's now moved into a different factor in addition to cost, which is trust. So since the publication date, smart systems have shown themselves vulnerable to capture, emphasizing the importance of trust. So that's what I had on my little tab here. And I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but yeah, importance of trust. Nest devices are inside your house, monitoring and changing, kind of like an AI agent. And Ring devices are on the outside of your house, usually watching and recording. And both of those are vulnerable to capture, right? So one of the things about trust is like, well, is this going to end up with the electric company or gas company being able to tell your Nest to do something that you don't want it to do? That's a possibility. They're centrally controlled. They're connected to the internet. That's what a smart system is. And as we've seen with the recent Ring camera footage being given to ICE and police departments and profiling people incorrectly because that's not what they're for. That's not what they're approved for. And sometimes even their footage being given over without the homeowner's knowledge or consent, like that's a loss of trust. So cost for smart thermostats is a thing, but also trust, because like, how are you going to get people to uptake these devices when these are the sorts of threats that are hovering on the edge of adoption? That's a human thing. That's not a technological thing. So we got to think of those systems as well. All right, we've got peatlands. Okay, some of you know that I celebrate International Bog Day in August. 123. And that has a lot to do with peatlands. Peatland illustration right there with all the boggy, mossy goodness. When is Bog Day? Is it in July or August? I think it may be in July, actually. Yeah, July 25th. So we missed it. I already celebrated. I've already told other folks about it. But land use is a huge thing. It's number 13 in the list. So it's a pretty big impact. Basically saying keep the peatlands. Don't harvest it for peat fires. Don't scrape it away for development. This is actually an aerial view of the cutaway of all the peat. So if you are not a big Irish history fan, or have relatives in Ireland who have shown you how peat works, peat is basically like swamps that have been around for thousands of years. Swamps have lots of living things that just sort of get sunk in the water and piled on top of with living things. And so there's no air underneath. And so when they decompose, it's anaerobically digested, meaning it is doing the same process that we got fossil fuels from. And so it becomes an energy source. And so it kind of looks like a brick of dirt, but it's burnable. And so people in Ireland have long used that as a fuel source because they have lots of bogs having a very moist environment. So I love this. I think this is a really cool ecosystem to study, to learn about. And here's my piece on peatlands. So the quote is, "For millennia, peatlands have been sacred ritual spaces, sometimes viewed as a gateway to the gods. A similar reverence today could ensure that peat's layers of death and decomposition can continue to be a life-giving force." Meaning they're providing ecosystem services. They're keeping that carbon under the living layer and not letting it release into the atmosphere, which would make global warming worse, climate change worse. And I just love that they put that in this book, because just like the other thing has a human system of trust layered on it, this has a human system of ritual and spirituality and sort of social culture layered onto it. And so that is driving with my other current read, which is Sacred Economics, which is saying whatever you make money, whatever you make sacred, I should say, whatever you make sacred in your society, you tend to get more of it because people will accumulate it or try to get more of it, right? Like spells or gold. And I'm at the point where he's just pointing out you should make wild, untouched forests sacred. Make them your currency if that's what's considered sacred, and they will multiply, right? People will want to have more of them. I'm thinking about that. It's interesting and different economics than I'm used to. So I'm trying to get his point. But the sacred aspect is kind of like this Pete Land's point about gateway to the gods. Isn't that cool? I thought that was really cool. Any more for drawdown? Yes. So there's 2 more that have to do with recycling and the refrigerator sticker. So recycling. So I know whenever anyone thinks about environmentalism, it's always like, oh, recycling. No, that's like 1/90th of the picture, right? So we have household recycling as number 55 in the lineup, so not too bad. But this is a weird thing that I saw in this write-up. Household recycling faces another emerging challenge: the makeup of garbage itself. Packaging from soda bottles to baby food containers has undergone light weighting, meaning lighter weight to it. New designs require fewer raw inputs and reduce shipping costs and often greenhouse gas emissions. So good, right? This is like when your water bottle got really thin, and also when the cap got shorter, it went like half height. I'm sure we all noticed this a few years ago. At the same time, they can be hard to recycle, and it takes many more of them to reach the same volume of saleable commodities. And at first I was thinking, like, what does that matter? That's good. Why? I mean, if you're still shipping it off to recycling, don't they just wait until it gets bigger? Isn't it just kind of like when you take out your household recycling, if you have fewer things in the garbage, you just take out your garbage less often or get a smaller garbage container, which you pay less for? But then I remembered it's household recycling. So maybe people are taking these to redeem for money, or maybe they don't have systems set up in their town that recycle those things, which would be weird though. I mean, we're allowed to put water bottles, water bottle caps, those things that are light-weighted, soda bottles, baby food containers. I mean, I assume all those can go in recycling. I don't know. Maybe that's the issue. And I haven't recycled a water bottle container in a really long time, so that's not my area. But I was just thinking, like, okay, I can see if you were in an economy where there were trash pickers. Like, I've read studies and articles about trash pickers, especially in India, where there's like open landfills, but they're accessible because there's a caste or a slice of society there that makes its living from sorting through those things, taking what is still valuable and selling it, to processing it. And so I think that's a good solution if it's not dangerous for people, right? And so I thought, okay, well, then it could be an equity issue, and you don't want to screw up the human system layered on top of recycling by making it harder for those people to make their living. I could see that. But if not, it's positive, right? And then I was thinking, okay, so the US example, maybe it's like box tops devaluation. Every once in a while, I will still buy a box of cereal. I normally go for granola and yogurt, but I just got Corn Chex, right? Corn Chex still has the stupid little label on top that says box tops for education. And, you know, this is one of those things, it's like the Kool-Aid points that I just definitely bought into as a kid and would save and want to collect and turn in, and then saw exposed as a total scam as an adult. Like, it's doing nothing for the recycling, for the materials culture, right? It's just to give people a feeling that they're helping, which is really disappointing and like soul crushing a little bit, right? If you grew up in that same era, like that was hard to take. So maybe I'm thinking like this light weighting is kind of like that, when people are thinking they're doing their thing, but because it's less material, I don't know. It still doesn't make sense to me. It's less material, so isn't that still an overall positive? I don't know. If you understand the equation that they're getting at there, let me know. I'm curious. Did I? Yes. Tyann says, beautiful gardens and lawns like the elite became sacred to the whiteness-coated neighborhoods. I think you mean coated, yeah. Now lawns are everywhere. Are you talking about in, as opposed to peatlands? Maybe I missed something. Catfoss says, no, it's the people who go around collecting bottles and cans and bring them to centers to collect a little bit of money. Okay, so it is the trash pickers who are going through like the dumpsters here in the American context. That's not a formal system. I guess like India, it's an informal system. Saleable commodities. Yeah, I don't know how effective that is. I'm trying to think, like, do they do it by weight? I guess they do it by weight in those machines. Okay. Okay, I'll think about that some more. That's a good point. I will say though that what I've seen is people getting a flat of plastic water bottles, like wrapped in plastic, shrink wrapped, like from Costco, outside the bottle drop machine, pouring the water out so that they had the bottles to recycle, because it was apparently cost effective for them to buy the water and get the money back from the plastic bottles and not actually use it. That is net negative. That's not what we want. So I don't know where the incentives are there. I don't know where the price points are in that system at all, so I can't really judge. Diane says a lot of towns and cities don't pick up recycling separately. Okay, yes. And so then it'd take means to get it there, right? Because they're not in city centers for sure. Our area does have recycling pickup. The landfill is pretty close too. Okay, so if it's lighter weight and you have to get more things, maybe it's like more of a struggle to take it to where it is because it's far away and it's like ungainly bags and stuff. That makes sense. The points thing makes everything fun. Well, my mother told me her childhood home only ever got wired with electricity after my grandmother turned in points for a TV. Oh my gosh. From cigarettes. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's a pretty cool story. Yeah, that's when it probably meant something, like in the 50s. I think it's just like a magic show for us nowadays. Kappa says I put out ours crushed up in a clear bag, so easy to identify. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. I know. I walked by and I was like, what? Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not the wrong incentives. It's just that people were not thinking clearly, because the people that I was watching were definitely like taking the money and doing bad things with it, let's say. That story is part of the inspired by work in progress I have. Oh, the points. Oh, that's fun. That's cool. Yeah, it could be a good system if people trusted it and it actually did a thing. That's all I'm saying. Okay, 160 is another recycling, but it is the industrial side. So industrial recycling, that was pretty cool. There's actually an example from the Philippines I thought I would show my mom because it's pretty neat. Women from the collection hub in the Bantayan Islands are examining the fruits of their labor. Carpet tiles made from 100% recycled fishing nets. The women clean, weigh, and sort the nets, after which they are baled and stored ready for export to Cebu City, which is near where my mom was for Peace Corps. So I thought that'd be fun to share there. But the quote that I have from industrial recycling was about extended producer responsibility. So this is a new acronym I had not heard of. It's called EPR. An increasingly popular policy approach that makes companies responsible not just for creating goods, but for managing them post-use. Otherwise, the public bears the brunt of disposal. EPR can be purely financial, charging producers for the cost of recovery and recycling. It can be physical as well, getting them directly involved in that process. And I was like, so which companies is this? And then I looked and I saw it's talking about a Dutch example. And I thought, oh, of course, it's not in the U.S. because no one in the U.S. would take responsibility. But I've thought about this. Yes, see, there she is. Great. I've thought about this in the context of fast food, especially because that is, aside from cigarette butts, that is the highest proportion of things that I see as litter on the ground. And I'm just like, what if McDonald's was responsible for all of McDonald's litter? Like, there's a McDonald's downtown on Burnside, not downtown, but, Center City. And there's always McDonald's litter crap around there. And I think, what if they were responsible for that? Would they have an incentive program to pay people to pick it up? Would they have staff to pick it up? Like, would they have more receptacles around the property for people to throw stuff away? There's all sorts of things that would be better that would make them pay or care, care about the system, having it be more closed loop. So I really like that idea. I highly doubt that anything in the US has EPR. But if anyone has heard anything about it, let me know. That would be really cool. Or if anyone is in the Netherlands and knows about Dutch examples of that, I'd love to hear about those. Yeah. Kappa says, a man in Puerto Morelos, the next town down the coast, has come up with a way of turning sargasso into useful bricks for buildings. That's so cool. So sargasso is a kind of like seaweed, like kelp, but like more like a grassy one, I think. Yeah, sargasso is a big problem here. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I love when people have these ideas. I wish there was like a Shark Tank for those like environmental ideas. That would be a show I would actually watch, because it wouldn't be all about the stupid show. It would be about like, can you make this work in a supply chain? And do you have partners here and here? And do you have plans for the bottlenecks and the growth and all this stuff? That would be really cool. That'd be awesome. I think that's for the extended producer responsibility. Yeah. Turn it into Hardee's and get a free item off the McDonald's trash menu. A free item off the McDonald's trash menu? Wait, what do you mean? Turn it into Hardee's. Explain. What is this, a competition thing? I'm not getting it. I need a little more clarity. Now I'm hungry. Pitch that to National Geographic or something. Yeah, an environmental Shark Tank. Ugh, yeah, that would be a good idea. The tube for Pringles is notoriously difficult to recycle because of the mix of materials. Yeah, good point. My friend who does the Ridwell subscription and like collects stuff from her friends, YM1, Ridwell has like a special different plastics that it will take that the city does not. And she did say, though, like, not that one because it's a mix of plastic and paper. And so they can't take that. So, yeah, the Pringles tube being paper, cardboard, as well as metal. And then the plastic top could probably be separately recycled. But, yeah, just like it's not really potatoes, it's not really a recyclable commodity. It's just annoying. Fun to upcycle, though. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's good for craft projects. People will pick up Pringles containers and cat litter tubs for free on the side of the road. I post in the Buy Nothing groups. Oh my gosh. Cat litter tubs. Wait, cat litter tubs. Oh, those big like square ones. I wonder what they're using them for. Huh. That's cool. I do the same for the glass and plastic jar lids I get from the dispensary, but it's probably fringe on distribution since I don't want to wash them. Tell me what you mean about the Hardee's McDonald's trash menu, though, because I'm curious about that one. Okay, so that's the industrial recycling, and there's one more from Drawdown, which is materials, page 165. And you may be surprised that this is the #1 impact project. Refrigeration. It's in the materials section. It's refrigeration. This is some guy who invented something, right? So what did I write down? Okay, so refrigerants used to use CFCs and HCFCs. That's a type of carbon thing. And they were very bad for the environment. They were very bad for the ozone. And we had the Montreal Protocol in 91, which like tried to limit those substances used in refrigeration so that the ozone would not keep getting a bigger hole, right? So that worked. But we replaced those with HFCs, which is another fluorocarbon, but like one less word in the compound, right? So different chemical. And here, refrigerants continue to cause planetary trouble. However, huge volumes of CFCs and HCFCs remain in circulation, even though it's been 30 years, retaining their potential for ozone damage. The replacement chemicals, primarily hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, have minimal deleterious effect on the ozone layer, but their capacity to warm the atmosphere is 1,000 to 9,000 times greater than that of carbon dioxide, depending upon their exact chemical composition. So you may know that carbon dioxide is like the main culprit, and it has so much warming potential and so much like not half-life, but a life till it goes away, right? Till it's absorbed. Well, methane is much worse. I think it's like 4 times worse, but it goes away quicker. So there's like different strategies to combat methane's contribution to climate crisis. But then to hear, okay, HFCs, which helped with the ozone, but they have 9,000 times greater warming potential than carbon dioxide. Okay, we need to do something about that, right? So they have ideas about recycling them. They're very easy to keep recycling rather than dump them, because that's when they release into the atmosphere. So I was like, that's number one. That's number one. That was crazy to me. So emissions reductions that can be achieved through the management and destruction of refrigerants already in circulation. 87% of refrigerants likely to be released could avoid emissions equivalent to almost 90 gigatons of carbon dioxide. And they had talked in this one about the Kigali Accord. So I have a friend in Kigali, that's Marion, and I did not know about this. I think it was in like 2004-ish. The Kigali deal, it was an amendment or an addition to the Montreal Protocol about ozone stuff. And it is a mandatory change for HFCs. So it's addressing exactly this problem, and it is a mandatory agreement, not optional, like the Paris Climate Agreement. It's got specific targets and timetables for action, trade sanctions to punish failure to comply, and commitments by rich countries to help finance the cost of transition. So it's actually something that like worked. And I'm like, I didn't know about this. That's so cool. So I want to look up the Kigali Accord. That would be neat. I also read something recently that was pretty funny. It was like this year's climate COP. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like the Paris climate, that same thing they have every year. This one, they disinvited the Gulf countries and the US and China, like the big players who don't want to do anything or commit anything. And they were in Brazil. I think they were somewhere in South America, and all these other countries who actually were like serious about mitigating emissions and had done a lot of work and, you know, were adapting as well. They actually got shit done. Like, what? Amazing. When we're not in the room, people actually get shit done. So that made me laugh, like in a good way, but like also America. Yeah. North America, I should say. One part of it especially. Yeah. Diane says, oh, competition. Would it have to be more than one rapper, or people could just throw their own away at the competition, make being environmentally responsible a competition? So like make it Hardee's, turn it into, oh, I see. So it's a McDonald's thing. If you turn it into Hardee's, you get a free item off the McDonald's trash menu. I see. So they'd have their own version of a dollar menu or something. And if you collected someone else's trash, but why would it have to be someone else's? I think they would probably want to clean up their own trash more. So you could bring Hardee's stuff back to Hardee's and get something off the Hardee's trash menu. Well, I'm not sure why they would want to clean up each other's. But if that's in there, let me know what the motivation is. Catpaw says Europe are starting a system where sellers are responsible for packaging, and it's killing small companies. Oh, think Etsy sellers who post to other countries. Every country has different tariffs. I could see that. Yeah, I haven't gotten stuff on Etsy for a while, and I've heard people basically saying that it's a lot of drop shippers and it's very few makers who are able to make it on there anymore. So I would hesitate to say make exceptions for Etsy sellers as small businesses, because I think behind a lot of those accounts now are big businesses that are drop shipping, and they should be held accountable, right? But yeah, the makers themselves who are shipping and like taking such care, that's difficult. I think they should get help for sure. Cabell says, I'll look for the video later and post it in the comments. Okay. Diane says, competition is what jacks up all the good things. We got to make the prize good things like that. Make forests valuable and they turn up everywhere thing. Yeah. Yeah. Make it sacred. Yeah. There will be more of it if people value it, basically. That's what it boils down to. Competition jacks up. I mean, I don't know. I have to think about that in different contexts because I think there's some yeses and some nos for that generalization. Diane. Etsy sellers means what Etsy used to be. Gotcha. Yeah. We agree. Diane says, I think the lower things should only apply to trademarked items. Oh, what do you mean trademarked? Like a burger wrapper will have a little T because it has the brand name on it. So would that mean like everyone would just go to wrapping it with plain white paper? And then they're not advertising anymore. But then they wouldn't be responsible. What do you mean? Tell me more. Trademarked items. So they stop labeling their products, which is good in another way entirely, to be honest. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, less advertising. I was standing in line in Fred Meyer to pick up a prescription yesterday, and in line there's like a blood pressure monitor machine, but the blood pressure monitor machine now has a screen, and when I was there before it was playing things, but the volume wasn't on, and this time the volume was on, and it was just like an ad for Fred Meyer playing over and over, Fred Meyer Pharmacy, and I was just like, can you not? Like I had sensory overload. So I was standing in line. There was the music from the speakers from the supermarket. There was the talk going on around me. There was the stupid screen that was talking. And then I was like, something else. But I was just like, oh my God, can you just shut up with the advertising? It was just really uncalled for, which reminds me I need to write and complain about that because that's not good. Yay, Rwanda. Woohoo. Tan says, wouldn't the world be better if they did want to clean up one another's? That's true. That's true. But they don't. They don't care. It's profit motive only. Think on it. I think it's mostly yeses. I didn't say all where you heard it, though. Competition jacks up all the good things. You did say all the good things. Is that what you mean? That's why I'm saying it's probably not all. Oh, yeah, I did. But it does. Comparison and competition are not necessary to a good world. Well, here's the thing. Competition in a friendly way is good for the world because then you don't have a monopoly. If you only have one person making a thing, you have no choice. So that's where I go, well, like it should be allowed. It just, yeah, there's a different meaning to competition, I think. That's how diners did it back in the day. They didn't brand their trash, right? Definitely a 90s thing. Sounds like going to a supermarket here. Ugh. Yeah. Ugh. The pharmacy experience. Pharmacia. Okay, so that's it for drawdown. Okay, switching over from environmental energy costs to economics. Look at this. Look at this. I'm so engaging with this, right? So we're not going to go through all the tabs. I picked and chose just from the first 50 pages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish things. Okay, so Sacred Economics. This is from 2011 by Charles Eisenstein. And he had a quote that I thought was pretty cool. I didn't put the page. I'll find it again. Here we go. Page 7. Okay, so he talks about how we didn't start out with barter. We started out with a gift economy, right? Because everyone in original societies thought that the world was a gift and God or gods had given it to humans and they needed to take good care of it and give back. So here's Lewis Hydes, who's another earlier writer, poetic description of this principle of the gift. The gift moves toward the empty place. As it turns in its circle, it turns toward him who has been empty-handed the longest. And if someone appears elsewhere whose need is greater, it leaves its old channel and moves toward him. Our generosity may leave us empty, but our emptiness then pulls gently at the hole until the thing in motion returns to replenish us. Social nature abhors a vacuum. Ah! So he's using the well-known expression nature abhors a vacuum to relate it to this closed system of a gift economy where instead of money accruing to the person who has the most money, because that's how interest works, it goes to, and money meaning gifts, it goes to the people who need it the most. And if you have another person who needs it more, then it goes to that person. Because it's like a vacuum. The less you have, the more the thing is attracted to you. And I was like, yes, but how do we do that? Because means testing doesn't work. Like, yeah, it's a practical application. As he said, poetic description, but I would love to figure out how to do that. I like this, but I can't articulate or defend against the difference between this and criticisms of communism making everyone poor. So yeah, I'm still noodling on this. I'm still thinking on it, because I think that if you are in a debate with someone and talking about how money should go to those who need it, what they will say is you're bringing the standard of living of everyone down instead of allowing people who are more motivated or more capable to accrue more because that's their talent. And I'm like, I don't know how to counter that with this yet, but I'm still reading the book. So that was my thought. Then we've got page 43 with, is there a universal aim to life? Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so he talked about, is there even such a thing as a universal aim to life? Which is an operative question right now, because I've been thinking about this. The idea that there is even such a thing as a universal aim to life, be it money or something else, is not at all obvious. This idea apparently arose at about the same time money did. Perhaps it was money that suggested it to philosophers. Socrates used a money metaphor explicitly in proposing intelligence as a universal aim. There's only one right currency for which we ought to exchange all of these other things, pleasures and pains. Intelligence is his quote. In religion, this corresponds to the pursuit of an ultimate aim, such as salvation or enlightenment, from which all other good things flow. How like the unlimited aim of money? I wonder what the effect would be on our spirituality if we gave up on the pursuit of a unitary abstract goal that we believe to be the key to everything else. How would it feel to release the endless campaign to improve ourselves, to make progress toward a goal? What would it be like just to play instead, just to be? Amazing. What about all that leisure time you're going to have, John Maynard Keynes? What about all that leisure time when we increased our efficiency and productivity? So, I felt that passage so much. And yeah, it's just something I've been wrestling with myself for a while about what is the goal? How do you dedicate yourself to something? And do you need that? Is that a crutch? Is just identity mixed up with work and passion and all that stuff? It's untangling it and sort of finding the center in yourself rather than external definitions is hard, y'all. So, yes. Tan says, you're still considering a world where competition exists if monopolies exist, but it's fine. Think on it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you get better products if you have competition. Like if you have one person who makes the fires, not fires, that's a bad example. If one person in the village who does people's hair, braids people's hair, and it's like me, and they do a terrible job French braiding. And then someone else goes, I think I can do that better. And then they offer it. And then you're like, oh, well, now you're the person who does it. Is that competition? I don't know. That'd be neat. You can't open a door for someone looking for a wall, explaining things to them. That is true. Yeah. It would be so amazing and joyous, right? Like just play. Just like interrogate your own motivations and figure out what the world is about. We'd probably just scroll still. Oh no. Oh no. Only if someone is competing. Otherwise, it's choice. Okay. All right. So we're like different definition. That makes more sense. So yeah. So that's why this book is hitting so good, because like we're unwinding and disentangling all these assumptions, and he's going back to like original OG civilization assumptions, which I think is valid because we've come to this point and it's just imploding. So fair. 46 is the next one, which is about, oh yeah, there we go. So this is kind of a weird concept. He's going to explore the idea of the decoupling of money as medium of exchange from money as store of value. So if you think about this, you've got something that's like a marker, like an IOU, that you say, okay, I'm going to buy this book from you, so I'm going to give you this IOU. And then later you can give me the IOU back and say, I would like to buy your water bottle. Oh, you need 2 IOUs. Okay, so it's a medium of exchange, right? Can you guys hear that? Saw 2 floors down. Yeah, he's renovating still. But the second part, the store of value, is the part where I trip up a little bit, because, okay, you don't want to store value forever, because the purpose is to circulate it, right? To circulate services and talents, if you will, gifts. But you do need to store it because your transactions are separated by time, right? So if I sell the book and I have the IOU, well, maybe I don't need anything for 2 days. And so when I go back to the village store and I'm trying to get a bottle of water, a water bottle, not a plastic one, like it needs to hold its value from one transaction to another. So I'm probably being too literal here, but like store of value, that's what made me think of the experiment. I think it was in the 30s probably, because of hyperinflation. I think it was Switzerland, and there was like a town or a what do they call them? Something with a C. Anyway, small town. There was a mayor of a small town who was trying to get a hold of inflation because it was killing the economy. Everyone was like being impoverished. And so he instituted basically like a town scrip, where it was like an IOU and you could trade it for services. And so it kept going so that people could pay each other without having to use the national central bank's currency. And the central bank shut it down. They worked for almost a year and it was working wonderfully. People were buying things, selling things, but using not the national currency, which was debased, but the local currency, which was working, right? And the rule that they had was that it was, I think after a month, it went down in a % of value or something like that. So that encouraged people to circulate it, because you weren't trying to hoard it, right? That's the whole problem, is that rich people are hoarding money. So I don't know if I have talked about that experiment before, but it was quite a while ago and I don't remember the details. But yeah, I'm still like thinking about this store of value, because obviously you don't want people to hoard. You want to circulate. You want people participating in the economy, meaning they are taking in money for what they are doing and they're putting out money for what they are purchasing, right? So the problem is that billionaires never do that. They never have a need to get rid of all their wealth, because there's not enough in the world for them to purchase. They can't eat that many oysters. They can't see that many theater plays. There's like not enough in the world for $1 billion to be spent in a lifetime. So yeah, the circulation thing is key, and it's hard to it's a harder model for me to envision. So this is why I'm still thinking about it. But I thought those were interesting examples that related. 23, 46, and the last one is a couple quotes here. 49. Trouble with property. Oh, okay. So we've got a quote from Henry George and then a quote from Thomas Paine, and they're both pretty fabulous. So I thought it'd be both of them. Henry George, he is someone I've studied because of his single tax policy. He's kind of a zealot in the late 19th, early 20th century, and a bit of a weirdo, but like had a pretty good idea. He just didn't get along well with other people in putting it forward. So Henry George, what would be the result in heaven itself if those who get there first instituted private property in the surface of heaven and parceled it out in absolute ownership among themselves, as we parcel out the surface of the earth? Think about it. All right. And then I've got the Thomas Paine quote. Thomas Paine, early American and what do we call it? Age of Enlightenment, sort of rational thinker, gadfly to the government. Thomas Paine, man did not make the earth, and though he had a natural right to occupy it, he had no right to locate as his property in perpetuity any part of it. Neither did the creator of the earth open a land office from whence the first title deeds should issue. I thought was just pretty funny. Yeah, so similar points and a little bit of humor in with the very heavy, like, economic trudge. So that's the Commonplace Journal. And as I said, I'm taking this concept of people who collect quotes and conversations, and mainly in here I'm putting down things that I read or media that I consume, like YouTube videos that really make me think or really set off those connections between different ideas or ideas in media, because I often have those and then I don't remember them. So like putting them down helps me solidify that learning. And of course, it's good when you don't spill something on it, because that makes it harder to read. All right, the last one is my fiction book. So I am finally reading the last in the C.J. Sansom series of Matthew Shardlake books. It's called Toonlands. This is set in Tudor England, and this is the one I was talking about that Mike at Riff Raff Reads would enjoy. Page 475. A storm's coming, William Kett observed. Probably tomorrow, Robert agreed. He turned to me and said civilly, "You did well today, Master Shardlake. We have gathered a fine set of detailed accusations. I will take them to St. Michael's Chapel. Now tomorrow I want you to cast an eye over the demands to be sent to the Protector." The Protector is the regent basically for King Edward, because King Edward's 11 years old at this point, and it's his uncle, I think, Edward Seymour, the Protector. "Very well," I said. He was driving me deeper into this rebellion every day. "Meet me at St. Michael's Chapel at 2. Wait, is this not it? No, it's not. Where? This is my bookmark. This is not the place that I marked out. Sorry. We're still talking about the Protector. This is 3:35 that the funny quote came on. Is it? Nope. Where's the place that I found? There we go. Okay. Sorry. Let's see. We're talking about Somerset House. The drivers, he's talking about traffic coming into into London. The drivers wore the Protector's red and yellow coat of arms, and we followed at a snail's pace as the carts lumbered on, making deep ruts in the road. "More bricks for Somerset House," Nicholas observed sourly. "Aye, Edward Seymour's palace will eat up half of London before he's done." Since becoming Protector, the Duke of Somerset had begun work on a vast new palace on the Strand, clearing away rows of old tenements and even digging up part of the ancient St. Paul's Cathedral charnel house, sending cartloads of bones of ancient distinguished Londoners to be buried with the rubbish out in Finsbury Fields. Nicholas said, "I hear he's ordered 2 million bricks for rebuilding that crumbling old family place of his in Wiltshire. What's it called? Wolf's Hole? Wolf Hall! All paid for by the public purse, empty though it is." So here we are, chapter 5. C.J. Sansom is putting in a sly little reference to Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, because they are both writing different perspectives on Henry VIII and, that era of revolution and reformation, as it were. So I just thought that was a funny little aside that we got to see. As soon as I finish this is the 7th and final book that Sansom wrote in the series, I'll be able to read Wolf Hall, because I'll have my different perspectives and I won't get sort of mixed up. But yeah, so that's the fun mystery I'm reading. It's really long. His books are the door stoppers, as Cat Paw said. So yeah, enjoying that one. That's what was giving me the neck crick that I have to correct for. All right. So that is us today. I got my Commonplace Journal updated a little bit and some fun quotes and some deep thinking quotes. And it's Friday, so go forth and enjoy the weekend. Whew. I've got a lot of work to do, but you know what? It is cool and clear, and so I'm thankful. I have zero complaints at this point. What are y'all doing for the weekend? What are y'all reading? Let me just get a little bit of the news because I feel like I've been talking the whole time from y'all reading. Let me know. And like Commonplace Journals, is anyone else doing one of those? I just made a little French journal into it. It's got really nice, like smooth graph paper pages. But yeah, next Wednesday is the next stream. I've got 21 things and this book, Guilty Pleasure, to review, and I will probably have at least one or two more as I do my Wednesday wrap-ups every 2 weeks. So enjoy the day and the weekends, Diane. Yes. Book cataloging. I don't know what I'm doing. There's rain coming. Haven't read a thing. I said, no, you don't. Do another video cataloging. I had an idea, actually, not for the book catalog video, but looking at TikTok. I thought, what if I just flipped without looking until I stopped at an audio that I really liked? So I'm like, how crucial is the audio track that people put on? So maybe like think of a good sound that you've heard that would be funny with the cataloging. I don't know. All right. Julie says, I'm reading some bestsellers. Dominion by Addie Kitchens. I've never heard that one. And Yesteryear by Caro something. Yes, I know the one you mean. A lot of people have thought it was really good and really fast. So I hope you like it. Cat Paws is more editing. Flatmate is away. Alrighty. Yes. Pace yourself. Give yourself sugar rewards. That's what I would say. Jim says currently reading Fourth Wing. Oh. And some Hemingway short stories. Oh, what did I... In one of the books that I was just reading, there was a quote from Voyage of the Beagle. So I thought of you. Leslie says, I'm currently reading Highway of Tears by Jessica McDiarmid. I've heard of that name, but not that book. Is this a Gabriella Shelf book? Because I don't remember seeing this on your recent video. I saw a shelf and I saw the suggestions, but I missed the reading sprint. You're like turning them out. How many months left do you have in the 2-year project? I'm wondering here. The Interview with the Vampire TV series related readathon. Yes. Oh, yes. Short stories as well. Wow. Nice. A gal after my own heart, reading several things at once. Yes. Oh, and here's the other ones I'm reading that did not come up with anything for the reading journal yet. So I'm not very far into it, but his style is not really flowing for me. But Tim Robinson Connemara is like the place that I'll be driving around in Ireland in less than a month. So I'm pretty excited about the stories that he's telling. He's just very dense in his way of speaking. I'm reading Mosley by Moonlight, which I told Jim. John Greenwood. It's like a 1980s mystery set in somewhere in the Dales, Hadley Dale, which is made up, I believe. And then this one I got from the library, How to Keep House While Drowning. It's sort of a Casey Dyer. It's a big hit. There's tons of copies at the library. And again, it's a small hardcover book. There's no paperback, so I was not going to buy it. But it's kind of like a mental health thing when you're depressed. So wanted to read this a long time ago and finally just like checked it out. So we'll see if it's useful. Nothing so far. Haven't got into it very far. It's not a very long book. So yeah, those are the other things. Hi, Laura, sneaking in. Hello. Yes, almost done. I'm just asking for current reads and weekend plans. Yes, it's on Gabriella's shelf. The readathon ends in November. Oh my gosh, September, October, November. You got 3 months left. That's amazing. I can't believe you've been so consistent, like plowing through all those goals. You had so many things to do. Oh, Laura says she loved that book. That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, it's one of those books. It's just like, what's it called? Triage, basically, and like change your mindset. So I'm happy to be reading it in a better space. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this community. We'll probably do a wrap up on Wednesday and a tag on Friday. So I'll see you again next week. Until then, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and happy reading. Until next time. Ciao.